W.F. Howes presents an unabridged recording of The Reckoning by Mary L. Trump, narrated by Mary L. Trump.
Introduction. The insurrection on January 6, 2021, shouldn't have come as a surprise. My Uncle Donald had been sowing the seeds of discontent for 2 months and promoting division and grievance for 4 years. It was a watershed moment, deliberate, planned, incited, yet another assault aimed squarely at everything I had always thought this country stood for. America is a deeply imperfect country, a country that has never actually been a democracy for all of its people, just for a privileged majority, but it has always had the potential to become that hoped-for more perfect union. Did the last 4 years push us further from that goal, or did they simply bring to light that we were never as close to it as we thought? I'd like to add that when I say we, I am generally referring to white Americans. I have no sympathy for or allegiance to the role of the white majority in our history or to the brutality of white supremacy. But it would be disingenuous to pretend that I haven't benefited enormously from a system that has kept whites at the top of the racial hierarchy we invented. This country was born in trauma inflicted on the native inhabitants of a land from which they were forcibly removed, trauma sustained by the generations that have succeeded the kidnapped and enslaved Africans who'd been brought to a continent both foreign and hostile, the trauma of those bystanders who failed to intervene when they could, those who could not intervene at all, and even those who committed the atrocities and continued to perpetuate a system that benefited them at the devastating expense of so many others. In order to understand our current situation, we have to assess the extent of the impact of those early traumas, as well as the knock-on effects of not only ignoring them, but pretending we have somehow transcended them. We most certainly have not. 2020 and the 3 years before and the last many decades have borne that out. When we think of trauma, we typically imagine dramatic, violent, singular events: rape, a car accident, a mortar shell exploding. Trauma can be quiet and slow, too, occurring over time in intense drama of sameness, of hopelessness, of unbearable isolation and loneliness, of helplessness. We often fail to recognize that we are being traumatized while we are being traumatized. When I started to write this book in October 2020, I was focused on the historical trends that have combined to leave us vulnerable in the wake of COVID-19, the intersecting economic crisis, and the looming mental health crisis. New York, where I live, had already been on a fairly severe lockdown since March. Our numbers had improved.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?